Hey readers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire Books, and I'm here with my reading roundup for April. I know it's a little late, but I have had to get ready to move because my landlord jacked my rent. That may be good news for you though, because I'm trying to read every hard copy book in the apartment so I can decide what to keep and what to trade before I actually have to relocate across town. That said, April itself is a pretty stressful month, so I only read like 5 books in April. However, they were very interesting, so we will go over them now. The first book I read in April was Juliet Takes a Breath, the graphic novel version. It is by Gabby Rivera, and it is about a young queer girl who is coming to terms with her identity, and she does this by going on an internship with a famous feminist queer woman, and she kind of gets in touch with the queer community and deals with issues within that community, such as racism, and racism that masquerades as being kind, and dealing with her first relationships, and kind of figuring out who she is, who her friends are, navigating her family. It's really a lovely story. I do think I would have liked the novel better. The illustrations were really, really good and just gorgeous to look at, but I think the plot might have been a little thinned out compared to what I would have read in the novel version. So depending on what your preferences are, it wasn't bad, but I think there might be a version of that story that's better. We'll have to see. After that, I read a book called The Perishing by Natasha Deón. This was a really interesting book. So it's maybe like a realistic fantasy book about people who are called immortals, and they don't really die. They just keep being reborn. And the center of this book is one of those people, and she is coming to terms with her current life and with some of her past lives, including the one that she identifies with the most strongly. And the story is sometimes a little bit meandering. Like there are parts that I didn't like as much. So like the futuristic part of the plot, and the parts explaining aspects of her life outside of the one that we identify with the most weren't as good. But then that straight up historical tale of a woman in the 30s was great. So the book had its ups and downs. Overall, it was very good, and I would absolutely read more from this author. After that, I went on a little bit of a romance kick, but like with mixed results. So when I was looking for a sweet, fluffy romance to comfort me in my times of stress, I started with Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade, and I really wanted to like this book. It is about an actor on a famous show. It's very obviously Game of Thrones. And, he is unhappy with the direction of the show, and he is getting his stress out by writing fan fiction. And he has a writing partner who happens to be a very gorgeous plus-size woman who they've never met in real life. They don't know each other. But they have a secret online relationship. And then somehow there's like a kerfluffle on Twitter about the woman's cosplay as a plus-size version of one of the characters in the show. And the actor compliments this woman. She's getting some online hate, and he asks her on a date. And it turns out that they are each other's like fan fiction friends, but that isn't something that everybody knows right away. So, they have a very sweet, fluffy little romance with a fan fiction plotline, and this had its ups and downs for me. Like, there were aspects of it that were cute. At the same time, I think it's a little creepy for an actor to be reading fan fiction about, not himself exactly, but about a version of a character that looks like him. There's just something a little funky about it to me. And the other thing was that, yes, the heroine is plus-sized, and she is, described as very beautiful in the book, but it's like, you just can't ever really forget that she's fat. And I think that some people would see that as very realistic, but like, I'm fat, I forget it all the time, because that's just not what I'm thinking about 24/7. I don't worry about my gut that many hours of the day, to be honest with you. So yeah, it was okay. It wasn't amazing. I then decided to try another Olivia Dade. So this leads into my next book of April, which is called All the Feels. It is a sequel to Spoiler Alert, and the main character is one of the actors who is friends with the actor from Spoiler Alert. So you get to catch up with some of the same characters. And in this one, this hot actor has a sort of a bodyguard because he keeps getting into trouble and not being able to control his impulses. So a woman is assigned to him to kind of keep him under control. And this woman is described throughout the book as ugly, and it's like aggressive how often it describes her as kind of like short and round, and she's got gangly arms and legs, and she's not pretty, and etc., etc., etc. But they fall in love, and once again, you have a really sweet romance. Again, there were aspects of this that I really enjoyed, but I got really tired of seeing the heroine get just put down and put down and put down all the time. It was just the ugliest thing in the book was how people treated the female lead. It was weird. The other thing that I didn't necessarily like was that this actor also is engaged in writing fan fiction for the fan fiction community, and the stuff that he's writing, it doesn't. It's funny. I guess there's some charm to it, but I don't know. It didn't quite dovetail with the way the romance was working out. Mostly because he writes about his character getting pegged a lot, but then like doesn't himself seem to want to get pegged. So I don't know. That was kind of disappointing. But yeah, I mean, the book was fine. It was fluffy. It was an afternoon's amusement. But I'm not going to be going back to the Olivia Dade well. I tried to, and I'm kind of done. Then I read my last book for April, and it was very cute. It was Well Met by Jen DeLuca. So I was just looking for some romantic fluff here. And this one is about a woman who her life is kind of falling apart. So she moves temporarily to help her sister who's been in a horrible car accident. And she's taking care of her niece and like helping her around the house. And her niece joins the Renaissance Fair. So the aunt also joins the Renaissance Fair, where she meets a crabby, yet, of course, oddly hot English teacher who seems not to like her very much until it turns out that is quite the opposite. So the book is about the Renaissance Fair and all the quirky little traditions that come up around the Renaissance Fair and how much fun it is to be somebody other than yourself and get into character, and also the flirtations that ensue. And it was a sweet book. There were things I didn't like about it. I thought in some ways the romance moved at a weird pace. It's really 6 weeks of Ren Fair, and they're that in love the way that they were in the book. I'm not so sure about that. And, there were moments that didn't quite ring true. I kind of broke immersion and felt like, a little embarrassed to read the book. But that happens to me a lot with romance novels, and it doesn't stop me from loving them anyway. So, there you go. But I thought Well Met was very cute. I would definitely read another one in this particular series. I liked the Renaissance Fair setting, and it was overall adorable and what I was looking for. So that caps off all of my reading for April, and hopefully I'll be back with some more stuff I read in May. Let me know what you read last month, what you're reading now. Let me know if there's anything I should be looking for, especially if you've read an adorable, fluffy romance recently. And most of all, happy reading, everybody.